Greetings, esteemed viewers. Step into the realm of business excellence with us on Elevate Your Business, where we unravel the secrets to success and share the strategies that lead to triumph. I'm your host, Ed Jarecki, and I'm thrilled to have you here today. In this program, our goal is to educate and empower business owners, leaders, and entrepreneurs such as yourself by offering valuable insights and guidance from accomplished individuals who have walked a similar path in the world of business. Our guest today follows this tradition as well. So grab some coffee, sit back, relax, and let's give a warm welcome to our incredible guest speaker today, Jack P. Flaherty. Jack is a seasoned author, business strategist, and entrepreneur with expertise in risk management, business development, and technology innovation. He is recognized as an effective change agent for a diverse range of clients, from startups to Fortune 500 companies. Jack's mission is to drive significant change, leveraging his ability to forge strong personal relationships and navigate complex challenges to help clients achieve their full potential. As Jack joins us on the show, he will shed light on what success means to him personally, how his definition has evolved over time, as well as one or two top challenges and the associated lessons learned. Finally, for today, we'll explore how Jack has leveraged innovation in his business to work through challenges and achieve his goals. So join me in welcoming Jack P. Flaherty as we embark on another incredible episode of Elevate Your Business. And without further ado, welcome to the show, Jack.
Hi, how you doing, Ned? Thank you very much for having me on your show. I'm really looking forward to the conversation. Really enjoy your platform, and I truly believe, decision making, particularly today, innovation and technology and the speed of business are really having a significant impact. And cultivating an agile mindset is necessary for us to succeed in the future. So I look forward to the conversation.
Outstanding. So to start with, could you share a little bit more about yourself and your business?
Sure. Going back real quickly is that I've spent 25 years in technology and risk management, where I would, evaluate organizations, whether it be their technology, their operations. Did a lot of work in healthcare, so clinical and such. And most of my work was to really identify what were the issues for the organization. And this was to help, management really prioritize, what they needed to, for better words, invest in, address. And if there was regulatory need, make sure that they were in compliance of. And throughout that process, what I identified was one of the root causes that we really never called out in our reports was the decisions that individuals had made. They were well-intentioned and great individuals, but maybe because of the speed with which they had to make a choice, or maybe the structure of the environment and it was siloed. They were making decisions that were either misaligned with what they were truly seeking to achieve, or misinformed because they'd failed to reach out to individuals that might have greater insight and had gathered that sufficient knowledge, and therefore had made a poor choice, which caused the issue that we ultimately had found. And so rather than continue to pursue and uncover issues with the organizations, I want to really laser focus on one of the root causes, which is it's our decisions, which often impede our ability to achieve a successful outcome, achieve a successful future, and that fulfillment that we all want to appreciate and enjoy. And so with that, I created a mission, and it started as a passion project of writing a book, which, for better words, acts as a mentor as I tell stories to really clarify that decision-making is a process. And by understanding each of the intricate steps and how to navigate through that, and having a clear established goal and taking a purposeful intent, is what really helps individuals as well as organizations achieve success. So my platform is, yes, I have a book. It's The Decision Switch, 7 Principles of Successful Decision Making. But I also have a speaking consulting platform where I assist organizations and individuals, with their own challenges, where they may have an impediment, something that's holding them back. And how do we really break that down and help you make the better decisions and thereby, future success?
You mentioned that word success. So 2 questions. First of all, how do you define success today?
How do I find success today? In the terms of my book, I'll take this in 2 different ways. In the terms of my book, how I've structured it, it's by establishing your North Star, your goal, and being able to navigate all those obstacles and challenges that frequently either undermine or derail a project or ourselves, or our ability to, whether we lose weight, if we talk about this personally. My goal is to lose weight, and I still go to the refrigerator at late at night. And so it's by, really creating that path forward, asking the right questions, which allows you to achieve your goals, which to me is success. For me personally, it's really a path, fulfillment and, following my personal beliefs. And so it's really principles over profits. And so looking at the needs of my family, look at my own personal needs. Success means, to really provide, a stable and supportive environment for those that are around me. And being able to make meaningful time in conversations with other business colleagues or friends. And so those are my own personal goals of success. And obviously, my work and those types of things support that. But to have a meaningful existence here on Earth.
Outstanding. So has your definition of success changed over time? And if so, how?
Oh, drastically, drastically. I can remember vividly my early 20s. I worked in the world of investment banking, particularly on a derivatives trading desk. My vision of success was money. I wanted to conquer the world. I wanted to make as much money as possible. And so therefore, my decisions were always aligned with that goal of making more money and really climbing the corporate ladder as fast as possible. And so that's where I self-identified is the greater success that I had in a business environment, my ability to, make money was how I self-identified that I was being successful. And so as I progressed along my career, I began to realize that I'm a much more personable individual, that, meaningful relationships and a sense of core ethics and purpose and why we're here, really started to seep into the way that I evaluated circumstances. And then having children certainly, changed the world, both for me personally as well as professionally. And I started thinking about things in a more structured approach. And so when I started thinking about how that's changed my view of success, it went from a very transactional view of it's a point in time to make money, achieve that promotion, to really, building my network, building meaningful relationships. As I started to recognize that actually is what fosters, long-term success, but also that personal fulfillment. As I want to be able to enjoy this ride, but also have that, business success as well. And so by aligning the two, it's actually make a much more meaningful existence and a lot more, quite frankly, business success. Because now I have, a broad network of individuals who, I can reach out to and collaborate with that support not only me personally, but my business as well. And so going towards a much more methodical process of looking at a situation, evaluating it, I make better choices. And it allows me to, fulfill each of those aspects that I defined as success.
And of course, you mentioned that journey. Business journey is never an easy journey. And going from that transactional, money, career focused, which, I can definitely relate to, as many of our viewers out there probably can too, to a point where it's really about living life to the fullest with the people that mean the most to us in a manner that is conducive to what we want out of life. That could mean cars, houses, travel, etc. But it's a balance of that with what you're giving back. So through that journey, though, there are those challenges. What are one or two of your top challenges and the lessons learned associated with them?
The two that come to mind, one was my transition from working in Manhattan in the world of investment banking, and then moving out to Los Angeles and getting into the world of consulting, both from a culture perspective, but also as well as a business. I mean, night and day differences. The pendulum swung in significantly. From a culture perspective, we look at, New York is a very fast paced. It's almost abrasive to the point where folks from outside of New York think that they're all mean, which to tell the truth, they're not. Actually, great people. They just have a purposeful intent of what they're wanting to accomplish. Los Angeles is a much more, got to get to know you first before I'm going to really trust you. And combined with that is, working in the world of, trading, we all had the same goal. And it really was to build that book of business. And I could remember times I'd have heated debates, standing in the middle of a massive trading floor with an individual about either some deal or transaction or reconciliation, whatever it was. And then 5 minutes later, we're out, at the pub next door having a beer and just talking about the Yankee game that night. So we didn't really take it personally because we were all aligned with the same goal. And then shifting over to the world of consulting, which in many cases, if you think about it, and I worked, fortunate to have worked for both Deloitte as PwC, is that it's also a lot of small businesses, if you think about it. So there's, partners that have their book of business and, they're navigating their way through and trying to, grow their business and build meaningful relationships with their clients. And so when you have a bunch of different, for better words, entrepreneurs working, together, there's a tendency to, want to make sure that you protect your client relationships. And there's good reasons for doing that. I mean, I'm not saying it's a negative thing, but you don't have this, cumulative goal of, one specific target. And so navigating the politics of that and understanding the language and how to communicate was something that, I had to invest, significantly in. It's actually part of the foundation of how I started going down this road of decision making. It was such a night and day difference. And that's when I started to get a lot more, reflective and introspective in thinking about a situation and how I would, think about it if I was, the individual that I was speaking with. And so empathy became a big aspect of how I observed a situation. And so, throughout the process of that, and trust me, it was a challenging, probably 1.5 year long journey making that transition, is I learned to be a little bit slower to react, make sure that I was starting to accumulate the information ahead of time. And that way we can have a meaningful conversation that both I was able to express, what I was seeking to achieve, but I also could listen to those other individuals and making sure that, I aligned with, their goals as well. But again, within, the politics of a large consultancy, making sure you're also doing it within, often the unwritten rule set of the corporate corridors. And, as results, it was quite a bit of a challenge, but one I'm, forever grateful for, because I think it really, developed a lot of interpersonal skills and, ways that I view the world. The second was when I left the world of Big Four consulting, I had the initiative to jump into the world of blockchain. And, right now there's obviously a very negative connotation around that word, NFTs and these types of things. As we obviously had a hype cycle, and a lot of people unfortunately lost a lot of money. And as the news has showed, there's a lot of, for better words, poor business practices that occurred.
Always are with these new technologies, aren't there?
And one of the things that I observed is one is that the average age of the individuals that were both working yet as well as leading these organizations was, on average, significantly less than my previous clients that I'd had. Because I'd worked, with, financial services organizations and, hospitals and insurance companies and everything in between. And so you had very mature leaders who'd been in, their roles, and they'd grown up through the organization. So they really understood the nuts and bolts of it. And when you flip into the world of blockchain, it happened so quickly. You had all of this new, brilliant talent all of a sudden just coming super quickly, obviously looking for a gold rush. But they were also, complimented, brilliant individuals. But the one thing that I, observed is from an executive functioning skill set, a lot of those things that, you learn through either personal experience, a mentor, hadn't quite developed yet, just because they probably hadn't had that experience yet, or never had taken the time to maybe read a book about it. And, I won't go into the details of it, but in the process, observed, I mean, you can look at FTX, for instance, as but one public example where, poor choices really led to, the downfall of what was supposed to be destined to be, the next, wave of, financial institutions. And it would, when you look at it as, a lack of experience is not always a, bad thing or a good thing. It's because you can become innovative. You see new things. But there's something to be said for having a knowledge and awareness of how business works and making sure that you're making the right choices that both protect the organization, but also progress it forward, whether growth innovation, new product lines, so on and so forth. And the challenge of moving from a very structured traditional consulting environment into one that was very dynamic. I don't want to go so far as saying chaotic, but it was certainly a very tumultuous time and reactive to meet the client's needs. And so the challenge was really working with my clients to having them settle back, really look and make sure that they had a crisp, clear goal of what their strategy was. And were we making the choices and the decisions that were going to get us the results that we want? And it was an enlightening experience because the first couple of times I did this, I wasn't as successful. And again, back to empathy and trying to understand,
yes,
the needs, the interests, the knowledge of the individuals that I was working with. It helped to really cultivate meaningful relationships where I could both help them and they can help me because they're going to bring new ideas to me. We're all learning every day, but really opening their eyes that we need to stop looking at making the immediate money. I mean, for goodness sakes, what Grok made $1 million in one day on one NFT or something of the sorts. Get away from the immediacy of making money and making sure that we're building a sustainable business
right.
That, yes, highly profitable, but let's make sure that we can do this in perpetuity. And it was extremely helpful because it allowed me to connect my blockchain clients with the buyers that they were seeking, because I was also looking at enterprise solutions. So we were going to traditional businesses as well. And so by helping to bridge that knowledge, that communication between the two different sides, being very helpful in putting together deals, because you could help each other explain what their position is, what they were looking to achieve, and how each other could support each other. So bridging those two different cultures, those generations, was an incredibly difficult challenge. But again, it's something that I just enjoy. There's really getting to know individuals, understand their needs and wants, and being able to provide solutions that deliver those services.
So there's three core foundational elements that I took out of what you just said. Empathy, which is absolutely incredibly important and increasingly important in building those relationships over time, and something that I think evolves as at least for many of us, we evolve from the 20s and 30s thinking into our more experienced thinking as we understand the broader world. The first seek to understand, one of Stephen Covey's famous lines, from a variety of sources. First seek to understand the information, and then the decision making, the empathy, the building of the trusting, credible relationships as an input, the knowledge and understanding into the decision making, which creates a much more meaningful, more highly successful, at least increases the probability of success when things are managed with those inputs. Is that a fair way to summarize that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And so we've already touched on this area of innovation, and you and I could have a show just talking about the technology or experience, even decision making, which I'm listening to you and going, oh, yep, yep. But as we talk about innovation, what do you see as some of the next steps relative to innovation, and what you're planning to look out for, what you need to consider as part of your business? And
sure. Again, I'm going to take the dual answer approach. As catalysts, for my platform, really is at its roots, I'm a futurist. I always look to see 3 steps ahead to make sure that I don't find myself at a brick wall. One of the first interviews I ever had was one of the last Wolf of Wall Street interviews, where a $30,000 commission check was placed in front of my face. So, do you want to make this kind of money? This is what I made last week. And looking at it and just looking at the cards and seeing the shift that was going on in the financial services industry, and not wanting to have to sell to my family and friends, I decided it wasn't a path for me. So going back to my business and looking at decision making, whether you're talking to a friend at a coffee shop, reading the newspaper, it's no surprise to anyone that everyone's talking about AI. This revolution started many, many years ago. Starting with Moore's law back in, what was it, I think 59 or something of the sorts, and saying that technology's number of circuits are going to double every year. the speed of technology and change is only going to get faster. And looking at either my clients, but more broadly, just the workforce and the general public, the impact of technology and automation is something it is unavoidable. And if we don't make sure that we are becoming much more well-informed of what that next wave of change is, we start looking at how do we navigate those, whether it's by educating ourselves, bringing on new partners that can complement our service line, and preparing ourselves, for that future. We're going to find ourselves in a very difficult position. And I'll share a quick aside. As I was, vividly remember a conversation with a couple of good friends of mine who are screenwriters. It was during the actor strike, and they were sharing with me because I was very curious. What are you fighting for? And they were talking about, obviously commissions and making money and these types of things. No point in the conversation did I hear, the two letters AI. And so I thought to myself, why, in a sense, why is this not coming up in the conversation? So I prompted them. Good friend of mine pounded on the table. Jack, we're fighting for more writers in the writer's room. I took a quick pause and I said, Mike, I appreciate that. I love you. You can't deny that the internet is here now. You can't deny that water flows downhill. You can't deny that AI is coming. It's going to disrupt the world of writing forever. And so you can take one of two paths. You can look at it, from a sense of, I'm not going to do this, and I'm going to do it the old traditional way and still be a servant to the studios. Or you could take a couple AI courses, learn a few prompts, reinvent yourself, become a brand, and then become a service provider to the studios, because now you can optimize the whole process, and you need a smaller team to generate the raw ideas, and it's still your voice that's going to refine them and turn the work product over to the studio. But instead of them having to hire a writer's room, they just outsource that function to you. And so you become a service provider, and you can charge a premium for that, which makes you can make more money. Going back to the other end, talking more broadly about myself and how I'm seeing technology innovation impact my world. In the world of speaking, the world of consulting, so much of this was a very personal thing, built on trust, relationships. But now that we're living in the world of these virtual communication streams, Zoom or whatever, it's a little bit more challenging to develop that level of meaningful and trusted relationship, with potential clients, potential buyers, those types of things. And so I find myself, whether it be in when I'm doing my sales, my marketing, my outreach, it's that I need to be much more thoughtful in my communications. As I'm sure you, as well as your entire audience, are just like me. And how often do you get a text, email, phone call, whatever medium that is asking you about your life and what are you doing tonight, or maybe your business? And the interesting thing is, the more that I receive these communications, the quicker that I can filter those that have been automatically generated through AI or some sort of Autobot. One of the things that I had read in an article not too long ago is, if you want to clean up your inbox, do a search for the word unsubscribe. Click all those emails and press delete. Because what those couple of words signify is that it was sent out by an automated emailing service. And so, if you have a personal friend, they're not going to be using an automated email service. And so when we think about ourselves, when we brand ourselves and we try to engage folks, we need to be more thoughtful in how we are doing this in a digital world. Yep. And so it makes it much more meaningful to be able to authentically write, because it's become so scripted. And again, you can see right through it. And if you are the person that can write that really succinct, perfect email, you'll be able to slice through and connect with the individual. And ultimately, my next goal is to get them on the phone. I want to get away from any electronic communication so we can actually have a real interpersonal communication. And so that's really where my focus is on, looking at technology, because It's certainly benefited because we can do virtual, trainings, teachings, consulting, but it all still comes back to trust and relationships, which is something that hasn't changed despite technology.
Absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I do believe that this AI revolution, we'll call it, and yes, it's been around for quite a while, but it's been the last 18 months where it's just exploded onto the scene and is integrated into so many of our daily lives. For those that aren't considering it, where it does help is those behind the scenes operational activities. So while we're still developing those meaningful relationships, establishing our trust and credibility as part of all of that, behind it, as you're looking at how do I operationally do this? How do I understand who have I contacted? What was the last contact? What offers do I have out there, et cetera, et cetera. Automate, automate, automate. And in each one of these solutions, there is now generally an AI component to it that can help speed up that part of the process. So much like you gave advice to your colleague and friend that yes, AI can serve him while he is still being able to serve his audience much more effectively, much more completely, while providing a service that's much quicker and at the end of the day, much better in many, many respects.
Absolutely. If you don't mind, I want to follow on real quickly with that. For your audience, this is one of the key points that I show my clients and my audiences is with all of these technologies. The first principle of my framework is triage first, and this means to make sure that you're gathering the information. And as we look at our careers, we look at our businesses. This is why I take a futurist mentality. In that, is my role or my industry, is it something that can be automated? Because not to point out any particular industry, because there's a couple that I could easily point out right now that, are all, basically, are rules based. And so if you think about it, they can be, very much automated. I mean, there's been talk of, fast food restaurants, and I certainly on other podcasts have mentioned the world of accounting. When anything is repetitive steps, it can be automated. Most people treat that as a fear. What I am coming back to is it's actually opportunity because it flattens the playing field. So even if you're not the juggernaut on the street, but you were the one that was quickest to come to a solution that did expedite a process or help your clients, you're going to differentiate yourself from the pack. And even if you're the small puppy out there, you can play with the big dogs because you have that nimbleness, that agility to really, solve their problems.
And for those that don't start to consider those opportunities, it could be the last remaining buggy whip business of this generation. There is an empathy for me for those traditional businesses, but there also are certain realities that we must face as we look to sustain and build our business from today forward. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
So if there was one key takeaway you would leave our audience, what would that be?
I'm going to marry a couple ideas. I'm going to go off script from what I was planning on responding with. The last point that you had made about making the decision of whether or not to innovate or not innovate. It's a very, for me, personal aspect. Is my father was a very successful entrepreneur in the printing industry, which, as we all know, has gone to the wayside because of Xerox and copiers and whatnot. For those, of the business owners, because I, worked with them for a few years, they were so close to retirement that for them, the need to innovate, they were so close to the end of the road. That goal didn't make sense to them. For those of you who are obviously younger, you need to get agile and figure that out. So I'll combine the two. One is, really try to identify what is your goal and, make that as crisp as possible and as short and succinct. That way you never get it confused, but any of your business partners, colleagues, spouse, kids, whatever, they all look and know what you're looking to achieve. And then going back to, I said, my first principle, and as you look at decisions and you accumulate the information about it, make sure that the choices that you're making all align with that goal. And the reason why this is, I think, sometimes very complicated and kind of a deep conversation is that we very easily are distracted by a shiny object. And we therefore make choices that don't get us to our goal. And so, the lasting advice is stay true to, what you really want to accomplish, because that will get you there. And by allowing yourself to fall off track is really what undermines your success and your ability to achieve those outcomes. So clearly identify your goal, make sure you have as enough information as you can find, and make the choices that align you to get to that goal.
I think that is outstanding. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
I also want to thank our audience today, and a special thank you to our guest, Jack B. Flaherty, for sharing his insights, experiences, and business success tactics with us. We hope this conversation has left you inspired and motivated to embrace the challenges of entrepreneurship with resilience, innovation, and adaptability. Remember, success comes in many forms, and it's essential to define it for yourself. Take the lessons shared by Jack to heart as you navigate your own entrepreneurial journey. Embrace change, seek out opportunities for growth, and always be willing to adapt to the ever-evolving landscape of business. Thank you once again to our phenomenal guest speaker, Jack P. Flaherty, and thank you all for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next time as we continue exploring the stories behind exceptional entrepreneurs. Stay resilient and stay innovative, everyone. Take care.